Okay, maybe it was a little much to go out there and actually use Elliotte Friedman and his whatever this is, home office setup as the thumbnail for our last video. So we'll give Friedman a little bit of a chance to make over himself, and that will be the thumbnail of this commentary. Today what I wanted to do was expand more on what Elliotte Friedman spoke about on NHL Network yesterday, and in particular, a name that potentially could be targeted by teams like the Kraken, the Flyers, the Vancouver Canucks. Let's talk today about Alexander Nikishin out of the Carolina Hurricanes, a 24-year-old defenseman, 6'3", 218, a left-handed guy, who remains unsigned by the Carolina Hurricanes at the time of recording this audio. He was a third-round pick, 69th overall, pretty nice draft position back in 2020, and Nikishin established himself soon after as one of, if not the absolute best, prospects not in the National Hockey League. The reason we are talking about Nikishin today is because of what Friedman spoke about on his NHL Network hit. This is Spectre's Hockey from earlier today. It summarizes a lot of Friedman's comments, so we will be going back over to this Lyle Richardson post over the next few days, just because Friedman has the scoop on everything that we care about. Scrolling down over here, Friedman suggests keep a close eye on Alexander Nikishin. The 24-year-old Carolina Hurricanes defenseman is an RFA, and it's been rumored the Hurricanes could attempt to trade him. Nothing seems close to a deal right now, but Friedman thinks Nikishin could be moved at some point, perhaps around the start of training camp. Here's what Spectre's note goes out there and says. Ryan Lambert of the Hockey News listed 5 NHL teams that should make Nikishin a trade target. They include the Calgary Flames, Philadelphia Flyers, Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, and Winnipeg Jets. It'll be interesting to see if one of them ends up landing the promising blue liner. Now that is a pretty interesting idea. Ryan Lambert posted this yesterday, 5 teams that should target Nikishin in a trade. We've got more of a scoop over here. Carolina Hurricanes defenseman Alexander Nikishin is rumored to be moving on from the Stanley Cup champions before the season begins, which teams around the league make sense as prospective landing spots. As the NHL season inches closer and defenseman Alexander Nikishin remains unsigned, the possibility that he has played his final game with the Hurricanes grows more distinct. In an interview with RG.org, Nikishin seemed to confirm rumors that he wants a hefty payday, potentially on, whatever that means, his next contract. Oh, potentially on his next contract. You all are missing a Y and a space there. Please, editors, get in here. That's frankly more than the Hurricanes will probably want to pay him. The 24-year-old is coming off of a solid rookie campaign, potting 11 goals and recording 33 points while averaging just 18-11 of ice time in the regular season, and 15-01 in the playoffs. His biggest value for the Stanley Cup champions is, even unsigned, on the trade market. While Nikishin is an RFA, he is ineligible to sign an offer sheet after receiving a qualifying offer from the Hurricanes earlier this summer. In a market where everyone wants to get a right-handed defenseman, which teams have the combination of free cap space, tradable assets, and a need to target a lefty like Nikishin? Here are a few potential landing spots. Now, we just gotta say this here, yes, so Nikishin is a left-handed guy, but during his time in the KHL, he was such a stud, the captain of SKA St. Petersburg for 2 years in a row, and generally seen as like the Charlie McAvoy of Russia, in a way. Maybe not like a super offensively dynamic guy like a Quinn Hughes or a Cale Makar, but somebody who plays with a physical edge, who is solid in all 3 zones. We had seen names like McAvoy, even Dion Phaneuf was thrown out there a little bit when talking about Nikishin. And in Carolina, it's not like he wasn't able to show off that talent. I mean, he had 33 points in 81 games, but he went over there and he was primarily used in a middle to bottom pair role. He had 12 minutes in Game 1 against Vegas, 12 minutes in Game 5 against Montreal. So it's not like Alexander Nikishin was really being utilized, but that's not going to dissuade him from wanting a big payday. And it's also potentially not going to dissuade the Hurricanes from expressing their disinterest in giving Nikishin that payday. This is a pretty good young player, but if he wants a little too much from what Carolina is willing to give, you could see how the trade rumors start to circulate. This article by Ryan Lambert goes out there and labels the Calgary Flames, a team that has a ton of money to spend, a pretty poor left side of their D-core, and a team that's clearly in the rebuild, having a young asset like Nikishin who plays on the opposite side of future number one defenseman Zane Parekh and recently acquired reclamation project Simon Nemec could be pretty attractive. In this age of player empowerment, he would have to want to sign there. However, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to play big minutes and be an upgrade over a guy like Ball or Hanley. The Philadelphia Flyers and Rick Tocchet are listed here too. They may still need to do some stuff to make last season's success sustainable, but the left side could use an upgrade. Nikishin would also fit in with their competitive timeline alongside some of their younger defenders like Drysdale and Bjorck. He could also be a little more of an offensive weapon on that side of the ice, having scored 11 goals as a rookie. Seattle is interesting here too. The Kraken are willing to pay top talent. Whether or not they see that in Nikishin, though, that's another story. If he were to end up with the Kraken, he would immediately become one of the youngest and most important blue liners on their team. Even with more tenured D-men in the lineup like Dunn or Lindgren, there would still be a ton of opportunities for Nikishin to have an impact for the Kraken this season. Maybe they could work out a package involving Picks, Nikishin, and Kotkaniemi heading to Seattle for more immediate veteran help, and Shane Wright. Wright to Carolina, eh? That'd be interesting. The Vancouver Canucks are in a position where they need an upgrade in all areas of the ice. Nikishin would be an improvement both now and in the future over their current second pairing option, Jamie Alexiak. Considering the rebuilding timeline the Canucks are on, Nikishin's interest in signing might not be high after getting a taste of playoff hockey. However, they can provide him with more playing opportunity than most teams, allowing him to prove he is worth a big payday before trading him later on. Really, the Canucks could use Nikishin as a rental and a trade chip, eh? Well, this does certainly fall in line with the idea that getting a left-handed defenseman would hold back the longer-term development of guys like Kirill Kudryavtsev or Elias Pettersson. On the left side, you have Zeev Buium, you've got Oleksiak. If you were to add somebody else in, that's 3 left D already. So thinking about Elias Pettersson, DPD, thinking about Kirill Kudryavtsev, there are other guys that may be held back by adding another left-handed defenseman. Now, Nikishin is young enough where you could justify just putting him into the mix and having him in that rotation too, but I understand the perspective as well, where you get Nikishin, you sign him, and then you give him amples of opportunity, and then you trade him. However, I don't know if I'd necessarily prefer to do that over just giving that playing time to Zeev Buium. Like, why have Nikishin on your number one power play if you're just going to trade him when Zeev Buium is right there, he's 4 years younger, and he needs the development time? I think prioritizing Zeev is still an important aspect here, unless you're getting Nikishin just because you want to have him as a part of your future. That's another conversation. The Winnipeg Jets would have to move some money around to make a Nikishin trade work, but there's still a Connor Hellebuyck trade to be made with someone other than Buffalo. Maybe Nikishin can be an integral part of that. Goodness, Connor Hellebuyck to Carolina? That'd be ridiculous, eh? If they're looking to contend, Nikishin's playoff experience would be valuable. If they plan on rebuilding, then his age may work with the timeline they are building around. That's the double whammy on Nikishin, eh? Stanley Cup experience, Stanley Cup champion, whilst being young. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elliotte Friedman's Nikishin trade update? And how do you feel about these teams potentially being in on the mix? Thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.